You know, when we think about India's economic history, our minds usually jump straight to the colonial period, right? But what if I told you that's not even close to the whole story? That for most of history, India was actually one of the biggest economic powerhouses on the planet. Okay, let's get into it, because this is a past you might not be familiar with. Just look at this number, 25%. Let that sink in for a second. For more than 1,000 years, long before any European colonial power showed up, this was India's slice of the entire world's economy. Staggering, isn't it?
And to really put that into perspective, research from the economist Angus Maddison shows us that India, right alongside China, pretty much ran the global economy. I mean, together, they made up about half of the world's GDP. That made India one of the two undisputed economic superpowers.
So what did it actually mean to be a global superpower back then? It really wasn't just about some numbers on a chart. It was a real, tangible thing, a reality that was felt all across the subcontinent and, frankly, admired all over the world.
But hey, don't just take my word for it. Let's look at what people who saw it with their own eyes had to say. Starting in the 16th century, European travelers, traders, you name it, they started arriving in India. And what they found, well, it pretty much left them speechless.
The word they kept using over and over was flourishing. Now, this isn't some modern spin or patriotic revision of history. This is a direct quote from the people who were there, Europeans, who came from what was, at the time, a kind of less developed part of the world. They were just blown away by the prosperity they saw everywhere.
Flourishing is a great word, but it's a little vague, don't you think? What were these travelers actually seeing on the ground that made them choose that specific word? What did it all look like?
Well, here are the pillars of that powerhouse economy. We're talking about incredible manufacturing. Indian textiles, for instance, were the envy of the entire world. A super diverse and rich agricultural system that could easily feed its huge population. And this wasn't some isolated place. It had massive internal trade routes crisscrossing the subcontinent and these huge external trade networks that connected it to literally everywhere. Europe, Africa, the Middle East, Southeast Asia. It was a sophisticated, globalized economy.
But here is where the story takes a really dramatic and, frankly, tragic turn. Because that incredible strength, all that immense prosperity, it actually held the seeds of a massive vulnerability.
So this is the key. All that wealth didn't work like a shield. Instead, it painted a giant target on India's back. The very thing that made the subcontinent so powerful also made it unbelievably attractive to outsiders who had their own plans.
And the force that was drawn to that target, it was this: colonial ambition. It's this specific drive, not just to trade, but to control, to occupy, and to exploit another nation's economy for your own gain. And for the people with that ambition, India was the ultimate prize.
And that's the great, tragic irony here. All those things we just talked about, the buzzing trade, the amazing manufacturing, the rich resources, they weren't a deterrent at all. They were an open invitation to the rising European powers. India's prosperity was like a magnet, and it pulled colonialism right to its shores.
Which leaves us with this huge, mind-boggling question. How does a global superpower, a nation that makes up a quarter of the world's entire economy, a flourishing civilization, how does it end up becoming a colony? Well, that's a whole other story of politics, power, and technology that would go on to change the world forever.